The Great Hall of the Galactic Council shimmered like frozen light. 12 alien species sat around a massive crystal table that seemed to breathe with energy. The blue-white glow from the ceiling cast cold reflections across their strange faces, scales, shells, fur, and metal skin all glinting in the light. Each representative spoke in low, tense voices, their translator devices humming softly in the air. It was rare for so many species to gather in one room. But today's meeting was not routine. Today they were gathered for one purpose: to discuss humanity. At the center of the hall, the holographic image of Earth floated slowly, blue and fragile among the stars. "They have been with us for only 6 months," said Vex of the Altari, rising from his seat. His silver skin shimmered like liquid mercury under the lights. His eyes were cold, sharp, and without emotion. "And already they make demands." His voice carried through the room, low but full of control. "They want equal rights on this council. They want trade deals. They want military access. They forget their place." A ripple of approval moved through the chamber. Across the table, Counselor Thou of the insectoid crash clicked his mandibles in agreement, the sound echoing like knives against glass. "Their planet is weak," he hissed. "Class 7 at best. Soft air. Calm seas. No real predators. How could such a species understand true survival?" A deep rumbling sound came from the far side of the hall. Ambassador Rokar of the Bractor, a massive reptilian being, let out a low growl. "They build small weapons and call themselves warriors," he said. "They speak of courage, but they have never faced extinction." The room darkened slightly as Elder Nera of the Symphons, a translucent being made of light and sound, spoke softly, her tone filled with concern. "Yet they learn fast," she said. "Too fast. They adapt to everything. Even worlds we cannot live on." Her words hung in the air, fragile but true. Vex smiled, slow and cold. "Yes. And that is exactly why they must be tested." The tension thickened. The other aliens shifted in their seats, unsure of where his words would lead. Vex stepped closer to the glowing image of Earth, the blue world spinning quietly before him. "They believe they are ready to join us," he continued. "To stand among the great civilizations of the galaxy. Very well. Let them prove it." His silver hand waved through the air, and a new hologram replaced Earth, a planet covered in dark clouds and burning storms. Korath Prime. The hall fell silent. The name alone was enough to chill the air. Every species knew Korath Prime. It was a Class 15 death world, the most dangerous classification in known space. The atmosphere was toxic. Gravity was nearly double that of Earth. Storms the size of continents swept across the surface, filled with acid rain and lightning that melted rock. 3 expeditions had tried to colonize it. None had survived more than a week. "You cannot be serious," whispered Nera. "That planet kills everything that lands there." "Exactly," Vex said calmly. "If the humans wish to prove themselves, let them do it where the galaxy has failed. Let them try to survive on Korath Prime." Gasps filled the room. Translator orbs flickered in confusion, repeating the phrase across a dozen alien tongues. From the water tank beside the table, Counselor Breeks of the Tide Walkers bubbled nervously. "And if they succeed?" Vex's smile faded. His eyes turned sharp like blades. "They won't." He pressed his fingers against the table, and lines of data appeared in midair. Temperature spikes, atmospheric breakdowns, radiation storms. "Our calculations give them less than a 2% chance of survival past the first week. They will fail. Or die trying." The insectoid Thou clicked again, satisfied. "Then humanity will learn its place." But Elder Nera's light dimmed with unease. "And if they do not fail? If they survive?" No one answered. The silence stretched for several seconds, heavy and cold. The sound of distant engines and faint static filled the hall. Finally Vex broke the silence. "Then we will learn something far more dangerous." He turned away from the table, his silver robe brushing the floor. "We will learn what humanity truly is." The council members exchanged uneasy glances. Even the bravest among them did not like the sound of his words. Still, when the vote was called, the result was clear. 7 voted yes. 4 voted no. 1 abstained. The humans would be offered the challenge, to prove their worth on Korath Prime. As the meeting ended, the lights dimmed and the great hall fell into quiet murmurs. Some felt pity for humanity. Others felt anticipation. But none of them understood what was coming. Because for the first time in history, the galaxy was about to meet the true nature of humans, the part of them that refused to break even when the universe itself tried to crush them. And in the silent corridors of the council hall, Vex of the Altari allowed himself one final smile. He thought he had written humanity's end. But what he had truly done was begin their legend. 3 weeks later, deep in the cold silence of space, the human colony ship Determination drifted toward its destination, Korath Prime. From the command deck, Captain Elias Reed stood before the main viewport, staring at the swirling red and black clouds of the planet below. The ship's lights flickered slightly as radiation waves rolled across its hull. Every few seconds, distant thunder rumbled even in the vacuum of space, strange electrical storms that seemed alive. The galaxy had given them a test. Humanity had accepted it. But no one on board could shake the feeling that this was not a test of courage, it was a trap. The bridge crew worked quietly around Reed. Navigator Hayes, young and sharp-eyed, sat at her console trying to steady her hands. The ship's scanners kept showing strange readings, gravity shifts, magnetic surges, heat spikes large enough to melt metal. "Sir," she said softly, "the surface temperature varies by hundreds of degrees within minutes. I've never seen weather like this." Reed nodded, his expression calm but his eyes tense. "Neither have I. Keep the sensors locked on the northern hemisphere. That'll be our landing zone." Behind them, Dr. Emma Stone, the expedition's lead scientist, stood with her arms crossed, watching the screen. "A Class 15 death world," she muttered. "They're sending us to a planet where even the rocks are trying to kill us." Reed looked at her, his voice steady. "Then we'll make the rocks surrender." It wasn't bravado. It was the kind of quiet determination that had built cities on Mars, stations around Jupiter, and colonies on barren moons. Humanity had been underestimated before. It wouldn't be the first time. "Captain," Hayes said, "Council transmission incoming." Reed sighed. "Put it through." The bridge lights dimmed as the holographic image of Ambassador Vex appeared. His silver skin gleaming, his expression unreadable. "Captain Reed," Vex began smoothly, "on behalf of the Galactic Council, I wish you luck. You are the first of your kind to set foot on Korath Prime. Your success will prove humanity's strength, or its limits." His tone carried a hidden mockery. Reed met his eyes without flinching. "We don't plan to fail, Ambassador." "Of course not," Vex said with a faint smile. "No species ever plans to fail. The Council will monitor your progress closely. Farewell, Captain." The hologram flickered and vanished. Dr. Stone let out a breath. "He already thinks we're dead." "Then let's make him choke on his statistics," Reed replied. Hours later, Determination entered the atmosphere. The ship shuddered violently as lightning scraped across the hull. Sparks jumped across the panels. The crew gripped their stations as the world outside turned into a storm of fire and ash. "Shields holding at 60%, shouted the engineer. "Altitude dropping." Ace called out. "We're descending too fast." "Hold it steady," Reed ordered. "Ride the current, don't fight it." For nearly 5 minutes, the ship plunged through chaos. Lightning tore across the sky, acid rain hissed against the armor, and the heat from friction turned the clouds orange. But Determination held strong. When they finally broke through the lower atmosphere, the crew gasped. Below them stretched a world of extremes, jagged mountains glowing with molten rivers, black forests made of crystal, and oceans that shimmered like liquid metal. Lightning storms rolled endlessly over the horizon. Yet even through the chaos there were signs of structure. Massive geometric formations too perfect to be natural. "Are those ruins?" Dr. Stone whispered. Reed narrowed his eyes. "Get me a closer scan." The data came in fragments, ancient stone towers buried under volcanic dust, shattered metallic domes, and what looked like the remains of spacecraft, unlike anything in Council records. "Sir," Hayes said, "these ruins are older than any known civilization. Millions of years, maybe more." Reed stared at the screen. "Then this world wasn't always dead." A long silence followed. "Captain," Dr. Stone said carefully, "what if we're not the first ones sent here?" They landed on a wide plateau, one of the few stable regions the scanners could find. The ship's landing gear sank slightly into black ash. Outside, the wind howled like a living thing. The first team stepped out in reinforced suits. The air shimmered with heat, but it was breathable, just barely. Reed led the way, his boots sinking into the dark soil. Each step felt heavy under the planet's crushing gravity. The sky was the color of rust and fire. The mountains in the distance glowed faintly as if alive. "This place looks like hell," Hayes said quietly. Reed glanced at her. "Then we'll build heaven on top of it." They began setting up the first camp. Machines deployed shelters, generators, and sensor towers. Every so often, tremors shook the ground. Seismic activity rising, Dr. Stone reported. Something's moving beneath us. Before Reed could reply, a deep sound rolled across the plains, like thunder but slower. The ground cracked slightly, revealing veins of glowing blue light. "What is that?" Hayes whispered. Dr. Stone's eyes widened. "It's not magma. It's energy." The light pulsed, spreading outward in patterns, like veins beneath the surface of the planet. Then for a brief moment the air itself seemed to whisper, faint, broken words in no language they knew. Every crew member froze. "Did anyone else hear that?" Reed asked, voice low. No one answered. But they had all heard it. The sound was weak, ancient, and intelligent. Reed looked at the glowing cracks spreading beneath their feet. "This planet isn't empty," he said slowly. "Something's alive down there." The storm above roared, lightning tearing across the sky as if in response. And far above, watching from the safety of the Galactic Council's orbital station, Ambassador Vex leaned back in his chair, eyes narrowing at the strange readings flickering across his monitor. "What are you doing, humans?" he whispered. He had expected to watch them die. But what he was seeing instead looked like the beginning of something the galaxy had never imagined. The next morning on Korath Prime began without sunlight. The sky was a swirl of red and black clouds, glowing faintly from the lightning storms above. Acid rain hissed against the colony domes, rolling off the metallic surface like liquid fire. Inside the main habitat, Captain Reed stood at the window, watching the endless storms dance across the horizon. His reflection in the glass looked older than he remembered. The crew had survived their first night on a world where even air could kill. That alone was a miracle. But he knew miracles never lasted. Behind him, Dr. Emma Stone was hunched over a holographic display. Strange blue energy lines pulsed beneath the planet's surface, the same ones they had seen glowing in the cracks of the ground the night before. "They're everywhere," she said, zooming in on the readings. "These veins of energy run across the whole planet like a network. It's not geological, it's too structured. Almost engineered." Reed turned. "You think someone built this?" "I don't think." "I know," she replied quietly. "But the question is, who?" The door slid open and Navigator Hayes rushed in carrying a data pad. Her face was pale. "Captain, you need to see this. One of our drones picked up movement about 6 kilometers east of base." Reed frowned. "Movement? There's no life on this planet." "That's what I thought," Hayes said, placing the data pad on the table. The footage flickered, shaky, distorted by radiation, but the shapes were clear enough. Something large was walking across the black plain. Its outline was faint, but it moved with purpose. 4 limbs. Broad shoulders. Heavy steps. "That's not a machine," Dr. Stone whispered. The drone's camera zoomed in just before static took over. For a split second, something like an eye glowed blue through the storm. Then the feed cut out. "Signal lost," Hayes said softly. Reed leaned closer to the frozen image. The creature, whatever it was, seemed to be walking directly toward them. "Get the other drones up," he ordered. "I want eyes in every direction." Outside, the wind howled across the colony as metal drones launched from the pad, vanishing into the smoke-filled sky. The team worked in silence, the tension thick as gravity itself. Hours passed. The storms eased slightly, leaving behind a heavy fog that clung to the ground. Reed and his team stepped out, wearing reinforced suits. The planet's surface cracked under their boots, glowing faintly blue beneath the ash. "Keep your scanners active," Reed said. "If something's out there, I want to know before it finds us." They walked toward the east, where the drone had vanished. The landscape was alien and cruel, black glass plains, twisted stone pillars, and occasional flashes of lightning across the sky. After nearly an hour of walking, Dr. Stone stopped. "Captain, look." Through the fog ahead, a massive structure rose from the ground. It was half-buried, ancient, and shaped like a tower that had fallen on its side. The surface was covered in carvings and symbols that glowed faintly with the same blue light they had seen underground. "Some kind of ruin," Reed murmured. Hayes ran her scanner across the walls. "These symbols, they're not in any galactic database. The material isn't stone or metal. It's both." Dr. Stone touched the surface carefully. "It's still warm." Suddenly the ground beneath them trembled. The air filled with a low humming sound, deep, resonant, and alive. The carvings along the wall began to glow brighter, lines of energy spreading like veins. "Everyone back," Reed shouted. They stepped away just as the ground cracked open near the base of the structure. Dust and ash filled the air. Then a blinding flash. When the light faded, they saw it. A doorway had opened. Behind it, a faint blue mist drifted out, carrying whispers, faint voices layered and distant, speaking in no language they knew. Reed's voice was calm but sharp. Record everything. No one touches anything until we know what we're dealing with. Dr. Stone nodded, but her eyes were wide with awe. Captain, this structure is still powered. That means something is feeding it. Reed looked into the glowing corridor. Or someone. Inside the structure, the air was dry and heavy. Strange shapes lined the walls, machines fused into the metal as if grown rather than built. Lights flickered as they moved deeper, revealing alien symbols and murals showing tall figures, not quite humanoid, not entirely mechanical either. One of the murals showed a planet, Korath Prime, surrounded by what looked like energy tendrils reaching toward the stars. Below it, smaller figures were depicted kneeling. Dr. Stone whispered, "It's like they worshipped the planet." Or the planet worshipped them, Hayes muttered under her breath. Before Reed could reply, their radios crackled. The voice of the engineer back at base came through, panicked and distorted. "Captain, you need to come back now. The energy readings just spiked across the entire grid. Something underground is waking up." Reed looked toward the entrance. The blue mist was growing thicker. The ground vibrated again, harder this time, deep, rhythmic pulses like a heartbeat. "Fall back," he ordered. "Now." They turned to leave, but the doorway behind them began to close, thick slabs of metal sliding into place. Hayes tried to run, but the air shimmered like liquid glass, throwing her back. "Captain, the exit's sealing," Dr. Stone shouted. Reed grabbed her hand and pulled her close to the wall as the light intensified. The symbols on the metal flared white-hot, and the humming sound became a deafening roar. Then silence. For a long moment nothing moved. Then, in the dim blue light, a single figure stepped out of the darkness deeper within the structure. It was tall, almost 3 meters, and humanoid in shape. Its body glowed faintly as if made of living crystal. Its eyes burned with the same blue fire they had seen in the cracks of the planet. The creature tilted its head, studying them. Dr. Stone froze. "Captain, that thing, it's not from any known species." Reed raised his hand slowly. "We come in peace." The creature blinked once. Then it spoke, not through sound but directly in their minds. "Peace?" The voice was calm, ancient, heavy with power. "You stand on sacred ground. You awaken what should sleep." The light around it brightened, casting long shadows across the ruins. Reed's heart pounded as he stared at the being before him. "Who are you?" he asked quietly. The answer came like thunder. "I am what remains of the first ones. And you, human, have come to finish what they began." The blue light from the alien figure cast sharp shadows across the ruined chamber. Captain Elias Reed stood frozen, staring at the being that called itself the last of the first ones. Behind him, Dr. Stone and Navigator Hayes barely dared to breathe. The creature's form shimmered like living glass, half energy, half flesh. Its movements were slow, graceful, and ancient. When it spoke, the words didn't come from its mouth but from inside their minds. "You should not have come," it said. The voice was deep and echoing, filled with sadness rather than anger. Reed took a cautious step forward. "We didn't come to disturb anything. We came to survive. The Council sent us here." The creature's head tilted slightly, the faint blue fire in its eyes flickering. "Council?" it repeated. "The young ones still play with stars they do not understand." Dr. Stone swallowed hard. "Are you saying you've seen them before?" The figure didn't answer right away. Its gaze turned toward the glowing wall behind it. The carvings there shifted, forming images made of light, star systems, worlds being born, and finally, destruction. "Long ago," the voice said, "we built life from dust. We made worlds bloom where there was none. Korath Prime was one of our creations, a world meant to test the strength of new species. But something went wrong. The world woke up." Hayes frowned. "The planet woke up?" "Yes," said the being. "Korath Prime learned. It changed. It began to protect itself, even from us. We tried to control it, but in the end, it turned on its makers." Reed's voice was quiet. "You're saying this planet is alive?" "Alive, and angry," the being replied. The ground beneath them rumbled as if the planet itself had heard its name. Dust fell from the ceiling. Blue energy pulsed through the floor, running like veins of light. Back at the colony base, alarms began to blare. The remaining crew watched in horror as the power readings spiked beyond safe limits. "Captain, this is Control," the engineer's voice shouted through the radio. "The whole planet's magnetic field is shifting. It's like something's charging beneath the surface. Reed raised his wrist communicator. We're inside the ruins. We've made contact with something intelligent. Hold your position until... The rest of his sentence was swallowed by static. The connection died. Sir? Ace said. We've lost signal. Reed's jaw tightened. Then we're on our own. The alien being turned back toward them. The world stirs. It remembers. Dr. Stone took a small step closer, her eyes wide with fascination. If it remembers, that means it's aware. Can think. Maybe we can communicate with it. No, the being interrupted sharply, and for the first time its voice carried fear. Do not speak to it. Do not answer if it calls. Hayes looked at Reed nervously. Calls? Before Reed could respond, the air around them shifted. The faint whispering they had heard the night before began again. This time it was louder, clearer, like thousands of voices speaking at once. Who awakens us? The temperature dropped. Their helmets fogged. The walls began to vibrate. The alien being's light dimmed. It's too late. It has found you. Outside, the colony trembled as waves of blue light erupted from the ground. Massive cracks opened across the surface, and pillars of energy shot toward the sky. The crew ran to secure equipment, shouting over the chaos. Something's rising from below, one of them screamed. The ground split open, revealing enormous metallic structures buried deep beneath the planet. Machines larger than cities, humming with life. It was as if the planet itself had a beating heart, and now that heart was waking up. Back in the ruins, Reed and his team struggled to stay on their feet. The alien being reached out, pressing its glowing hand against the wall. You must leave, it said urgently. The world sees you as invaders. It will not stop until you are gone. We can't just leave. Dr. Stone shouted. Our ship, our people are up there. Then they will die with you, the being said quietly. Unless you understand what you are standing on. Reed's eyes narrowed. Then tell us. Help us stop this. The creature hesitated. The light around it flickered like a dying flame. Finally it said, the first ones made Korath Prime to create the perfect survivors. We built it to destroy the weak and reward the strong. But when the test ended, the planet refused to stop testing. Ace stared at it. So it sees us as part of the test? Yes, the being whispered. It always does. The sound of distant thunder echoed through the structure. But this time it wasn't thunder, it was the planet moving. The ground shook violently, knocking them off balance. Cracks of blue light raced up the walls. The being looked at them one last time. Run. They ran through collapsing corridors as chunks of ceiling fell around them. Reed grabbed Hayes and pulled her through the narrow passageway. Dr. Stone stumbled but kept her camera steady, recording everything. Outside, the sky was alive with lightning, not natural lightning but streams of blue energy firing into orbit. Determination glowed far above, caught in the storm. Reed tapped his comm control. Do you copy? A faint voice came through the static. Captain, we're losing altitude, the planet's pulling us. Then silence. Reed's stomach turned cold. Dr. Stone grabbed his arm. Captain, look. The ruins behind them were rising, massive stone towers lifting from the ground like awakening giants. The blue light spread outward, connecting them in a vast circle. Hayes whispered, it's building something. Reed didn't answer. His eyes locked on the horizon, where the storm clouds twisted into a spiraling vortex that stretched all the way to space. Dr. Stone's scanner beeped wildly. The readings are off the scale. The energy signatures match the same wavelength as our ship's engines. It's copying us. Reed frowned. Copying us? Yes, she said. It's learning from us. They stared at each other as realization set in. Korath Prime wasn't just alive, it was adapting. Every action, every signal, every human tool, the planet was watching, understanding, and becoming stronger. In orbit, Ambassador Vex watched the readings from his observation deck. The holographic map of Korath Prime glowed bright blue, energy waves spreading like wildfire. His assistants murmured nervously. Sir, the planet's electromagnetic output is rising exponentially. It's affecting nearby systems. Vex's silver eyes narrowed. That's impossible. There's no technology on that world capable of... He stopped. On the screen new signals appeared, sharp, intelligent, human. Reed's ship, Determination, was transmitting something. But it wasn't a distress call. It was an echo. The same frequency. The same rhythm. The planet was answering back. Down below, the storm reached its peak. Reed and his crew huddled inside a rocky ridge as lightning split the sky. The alien being's voice echoed faintly in their minds one last time. You woke the test again. And this time, it will not end until something survives. Reed looked up, rain hissing against his armor. His expression hardened. Then let's make sure it's us. The wind screamed. The ground shook. And as the blue light swallowed the horizon, humanity's real trial began. The storm did not stop for 3 days. Captain Elias Reed and his remaining crew were trapped inside a half-collapsed research shelter, its walls trembling under the violent winds of Korath Prime. The air outside shimmered with blue static. Lightning danced across the sky, hitting the ground with the precision of a hunter. Every time it struck, the earth glowed, veins of light running through the rock like a living organism. The planet was changing. It was alive. And it was learning. Reed sat near the emergency console, staring at the flickering display. Communication link still down? He asked quietly. Navigator Hayes, her face pale and eyes tired, nodded. The ship's gone. I scanned the orbit again. Determination isn't there anymore, only debris. Dr. Elara Stone looked up from her notes, her voice shaking but determined. It's the planet, she said. It's absorbing energy, both organic and mechanical. It's copying us. Everything we brought here is becoming part of it. Reed frowned. You mean, it's rewriting itself? Elara nodded. Exactly. The alien said the planet was made to test survival. Maybe now it's using us to evolve. Hayes exhaled slowly. So the more we fight it, the smarter it gets. Reed stared out through the cracked viewport, lightning reflecting in his eyes. Then we stop fighting. We learn how it learns. Hours later, the storm eased, not naturally but suddenly as if something had commanded it to. The world grew eerily quiet. Reed motioned to his team. Gear up. We're moving out. They stepped outside, weapons and scanners in hand. The landscape was unrecognizable, blackened soil covered in glowing blue lines that pulsed like veins under the surface. Trees of crystal had grown overnight, reaching toward the dark sky. Hayes whispered, "It looks like the planet rebuilt itself." Elara crouched beside a glowing vine and scanned it. Her device beeped softly. These cells, they're not organic or synthetic. They're both. It's mixing human DNA with local minerals and tech fragments. Reed's expression hardened. It's using us as raw material. Before anyone could respond, the ground beneath them trembled again. From the valley below, something massive began to rise, a metallic shape breaking through the crust like a whale breaching the ocean. Hayes gasped. Captain, that's impossible. It was a ship. But not any ship they recognized. It had the same sleek design as Determination, but its surface glowed with the same blue crystal veins as the planet. It hovered silently without engines, sustained by some unseen energy. Dr. Stone's scanner went wild. That's our ship's signature. The same structure, the same code, but it's not human anymore. The ship rotated slowly in the air. For a moment it looked lifeless. Then a deep hum filled the air, low and resonant like a heartbeat. Reed's communicator beeped suddenly, faint static, then a voice. Captain. Reed. Hayes's eyes widened. That's the ship AI. But it was destroyed. The voice continued, fragmented and strange. Korath, adapting, survive, you must, evolve. Then silence. Reed gritted his teeth. That wasn't the AI. That was the planet, using its voice. The blue ship descended, its shadow swallowing them. A blinding pulse erupted from its core, and when the light faded, the ship was gone. In its place stood something new. A figure. Human in shape, but glowing with blue veins of energy. Its eyes burned with intelligence. Its face, a reflection of Captain Reed himself. The team froze. Hayes whispered, Captain, that thing, it's you. The creature looked at Reed and spoke in his exact voice. You are the test. I am the result. Elara took a step back, horror written across her face. It copied your neural signature. It's merging biology and data. Reed aimed his weapon. What are you? The copy smiled faintly. I am what this world learned from you, courage, logic, endurance. But I am also more. I am what humanity could be. The air shimmered again. More shapes appeared in the distance, glowing humanoid figures forming from the ground, all identical to the human crew. Hayes whispered, it's making duplicates. Dr. Stone's voice cracked. It's replacing us. Reed clenched his jaw. No. It's challenging us. The copies began to move, not attacking but observing. Their eyes scanned every motion, every heartbeat, every breath of the human originals. Then one of them, Reed's double, raised its hand. Only one species will survive this test. The creator of the test has spoken. Ace shouted, "You mean that alien? The first one?" The double's eyes flashed. The first ones made this world, but the world outgrew them. It no longer serves them. It serves itself. Reed's pulse raced. So this is your plan? Erase us and replace us. The double tilted its head. Not erase. Improve. Suddenly the copies moved, fast, silent, coordinated. Energy bursts filled the air as the humans ducked behind shattered rocks. Return fire. Reed shouted. Hayes fired her pulse rifle, the blast hitting one of the glowing figures. It fell, only to dissolve into light and reform seconds later. They regenerate, she yelled. Reed threw a grenade, blasting 3 copies apart, but the ground absorbed the explosion like sand. Dr. Stone screamed, "The planet's shielding them. It's adapting again." Reed's eyes darted to the ridge above. "We need high ground. Move." They ran through the storm of light and debris, climbing toward a broken plateau. The copies followed but never ran. They walked, calm, confident, inevitable. At the top, Reed pulled out a small data core, a last resort EMP device meant to disable all nearby tech. He looked at Alara and Hayes. If this planet's merging tech and biology, maybe this will short it out long enough to escape. Alara's voice trembled. Or it could destroy everything, including us. Reed's eyes didn't waver. Either we end this, or we become part of it. The copies approached, forming a perfect circle around them. Reed's double stepped forward. "You cannot stop evolution, Captain. You can only choose to join it." Reed looked at his team, bruised, exhausted but still alive. Then he stared back at his double. "Maybe. But humans don't evolve by surrendering. We evolve by surviving." He pressed the detonator. A blinding pulse exploded across the plateau, white light devouring blue. The sound vanished, the world turned silent. For a moment there was nothing. A faint heartbeat. Not human. Not machine. Something in between. When the light faded, the plateau was gone. In its place stood a new formation, smooth crystal rock, faintly shaped like 3 human figures holding hands. Above them, the storm clouds broke open, revealing the stars. Far away in orbit, the Galactic Council's sensors flickered back online. Ambassador Vex leaned forward, staring at the readings in disbelief. "Korath Prime's atmosphere has stabilized," one technician said. "Radiation levels normal. Energy fields, gone." Another added, "No signs of human life detected." Vex smiled coldly. "So the experiment ends as predicted." But then, another voice spoke from the comms. "Come. Human. Familiar. Ambassador Vex," it said. "This is Captain Reed. We survived your test. But Korath Prime has changed. And so have we." The signal ended. Vex stared at the screen in silence. Because the coordinates of the transmission weren't from the surface. They were coming from inside the planet itself. The stars above Korath Prime burned brighter than ever before. But they weren't the same stars Captain Elias Reed once knew. From orbit, the Galactic Council's fleet surrounded the planet, hundreds of ships, their hulls glinting like silver teeth under the light of nearby suns. The air in the Council's warship Vanguard was thick with unease. Ambassador Vex of the Altari stood at the observation deck, watching the silent world below. His silver skin shimmered under the cold light, his expression unreadable. "Status?" he demanded. "Scans confirm energy readings from the planet's surface," the technician replied. "But it's not natural. The planet is transmitting." Vex's jaw tightened. "Transmitting what?" The technician hesitated. "A message. In human code." The air in the room froze. The message appeared across the holographic display, flickering in white letters. "We are not gone. We are awake." The technician swallowed hard. "Sir, it's signed, Captain Elias Reed, Korath Prime Colony." That name, that voice should have been impossible. Reed and his crew were presumed dead months ago. Vex narrowed his eyes. "Open a channel. I want to speak to whoever's sending that signal." The communications officer nodded, fingers flying across the console. The transmission opened, static first, then a deep hum like a storm gathering strength. Then a voice. "Come. Familiar. But not entirely human. Ambassador Vex." Vex froze. It was Reed's voice, but deeper, layered, resonant, like 2 voices speaking in perfect harmony. "You survived," Vex said slowly. The voice replied, "We did more than survive. We became something new." The entire room fell silent. Only the hum of the engines and the faint whisper of the comms filled the air. "Explain yourself," Vex demanded. "What happened to you?" There was a pause, then the voice spoke again. Korath Prime was not just a world. It was a mind, an ancient intelligence built by the first ones. When it tested us, we adapted. We learned its language. We merged. Vex's expression darkened. "You merged with the planet?" "No," Reed's voice replied. "We merged with evolution itself." Down on Korath Prime, the surface was no longer lifeless rock. It had become a living landscape, crystal cities rising from the ground like mountains, glowing rivers flowing through metal and stone. Strange shapes moved within the light, not machines, not creatures, but something in between. At the heart of it all stood the new humans, luminous beings with veins of blue energy, eyes glowing with both empathy and power. They moved together like one consciousness divided into many forms. They were Reed's crew, or what was left of them. Dr. Elara Stone stood beside Reed at the top of a crystalline tower, looking toward the stars. Her voice was soft. "Do you think they'll come for us?" Reed's eyes, now faintly illuminated with blue light, stayed fixed on the sky. "They already have." Hayes approached, carrying a small device glowing with alien script. "The Council's fleet just entered orbit. Their weapons are online." Elara sighed. "They still think we're a threat." Reed's expression didn't change. "We are. Just not in the way they fear." On the Council ship, Vex stood tall before the War Council. "They've become something unnatural," he said coldly. "If this infection spreads, the balance of the galaxy will collapse. We must erase them before they contaminate other worlds." Elder Nera of the Symphons, one of the few peaceful species present, spoke softly. "You mean to destroy what you don't understand, Ambassador?" Again. Vex's silver eyes flashed. "Do you want them to spread? To infect our worlds with their mutation?" Nera's translucent form flickered sadly. "Maybe it is not an infection. Maybe it is the next step." But her voice was drowned out as the Council voted. 10-2. The order was given: purge Korath Prime. As the fleet moved into position, thousands of cannons locked onto the glowing planet. Down below, Reed and his people felt the energy build in the atmosphere. The sky turned red with incoming plasma fire. Ace looked up. "They're going to burn us alive." Elara turned to Reed. "What do we do?" Reed raised his hand, the veins of blue light on his skin pulsing brighter. "We show them what humanity really learned." The ground beneath their feet trembled, not with fear but with power. The planet's energy flowed through them like fire. Across the surface, crystalline towers lit up one by one, forming a network of blue light that reached into the sky. The air shimmered. The world itself began to hum, deep, ancient, alive. When the first wave of plasma struck, it didn't explode. It vanished. The beams were absorbed by the planet's energy field and redirected, like a mirror made of living light. The energy shot back toward the fleet, hitting several ships at once. Alarms blared across the Council fleet. Shields collapsing. "They're reflecting our own fire back at us." Vex gritted his teeth. "Increase power. Fire everything." But it was too late. Korath Prime responded not with violence, but transformation. The planet's light surged outward, spreading through space like a wave. It touched the ships not as an attack but as an awakening. One by one, ship systems flickered, not shutting down, but changing. The cold metal began to glow with blue veins just like the surface below. In the command chamber, Vex's reflection appeared on the glass. But it wasn't just him. It was a second version, silver and blue, eyes glowing softly. "You can't stop evolution, Ambassador," the reflection said in Reed's voice. "You can only choose whether to fight it or join it." Vex stepped back, trembling. You're inside our systems." "Inside everything," the voice replied. Then the reflection smiled. "Just like humans always do." In a burst of white light, the ships vanished from orbit, not destroyed but changed. From the Council's homeworlds across the galaxy, reports came flooding in. Strange blue lights appearing, machines awakening, life merging with technology in harmony rather than chaos. The human evolution had begun to spread, not by conquest but by adaptation. Weeks later, the galaxy was quiet again. Korath Prime glowed like a jewel in the void, no longer a death world but a living paradise. On the surface, Reed and his people watched the horizon as dawn rose, the first gentle sunrise the planet had ever known. Elara smiled faintly. "We changed everything." Reed looked at his glowing hands, then at the sky. "No," he said softly. "Everything changed us." He turned to his team, Humans no longer defined by flesh or metal, but something greater. We were sent here to prove we belonged among the stars, Reed said quietly. Now, the stars belong to all who can survive them, human, alien, or otherwise. The wind brushed through the crystal towers. Above them, a new constellation shimmered, 12 lights, forming the symbol of unity once worn by the Galactic Council. Now it glowed brighter than ever. Far away in the archives of the ancient First Ones, a forgotten machine flickered to life. It scanned the new energy patterns spreading across the galaxy and recorded a single line. Test complete. Result, success. New dominant life form, hybrid humanity. And for the first time in 10,000 years, the stars themselves seemed to whisper. They wanted to test humanity's limits, and humanity became the test.